And young people are so switched off politics because they don't believe that politicians are going to do anything that they want them to do. So I've given some lectures out at Monash University in Melbourne to young groups of people, and they are the single most untapped voting resource, yes, but they are also the ones who don't want to be engaged with politics because they believe the system doesn't work. And I say to them, and this is what I say to animal activists too, help me, get involved in politics, stand, run, get elected. Let's get rid of some of those politicians that are there that have the attitudes that they have. Can you imagine the laws that we could change and the lives that we could influence and help and change completely for animals if we had, say, 15 representatives in a parliament? Can you imagine what we'd be able to get done?
Andy, do you want to start a revolution with us?
I'm with you, comrades.
Let's do it.
We hear you loud and clear, mate, particularly with the youth who have become disinterested and disengaged with politics as a result of feeling like it's hopeless.
Well, no wonder, again, when the Prime Minister comes out and calls you a criminal for exposing the truth about what happens to innocent animals, what hope do you have?
Yeah.
Where do you look to?
So I think those lectures that you're giving at universities are absolutely priceless. And Andy, you spoke earlier about wildlife, which brings to mind the current bushfires here in Australia. We were speaking about it before we started recording this interview briefly. You said you've got I think it was a sister that's about half an hour away from the fires. She's safe, but so many others aren't, both human and non-human animals. You know, we posted about it on our social media the other day. And we were horrified to read that not only does our government not address climate change, but they've refused to answer questions on climate change worsening fires. You know, they think that concerns over climate change while fires are burning were a disgrace. And the Deputy Prime Minister said they don't need the ravings of some pure, enlightened and woke capital city greenies at this time. Any thoughts?
Where do we even begin?
How irresponsible can you possibly be? Look, this is precisely why we have to get rid of a bunch of middle-aged white guys in Parliament, because they are so blinkered, they are so averse to addressing the problem. They want to go out to the fire front and they want to put on the fireys uniform and a hat and get a photo taken and say, here's me supporting our brave fireys. Well, why don't you bloody well do something about the problem in the first place? And there's no better time to speak about the underlying problem that's causing this disaster for everyone than now. Because that means that when the crisis is over and the repair of lives and property starts, it gets lost. You know, the conversation never happens again. If you start it now when everything is going on, well, then you stand a very good chance of it continuing afterwards, and it has to continue afterwards. The scientists around the world aren't wrong. They've been predicting this for years, and now we're beginning to see it, not just Australia, we're seeing it around the world. We're seeing it in Greece, we're seeing it in Italy, we're seeing it right across Europe, and yet it's the wrong time to talk about climate change. You know, I find that reprehensible.
Yeah, I think it's the absolute perfect time to start educating people about the impact that animal agriculture has on climate change and the role it plays, and just how we need to, again, turn this sinking ship around, and we can make such a wonderful, impactful change 3 times a day by changing what we put in our mouths.
Absolutely.
You know, it's not the only solution, but it's one of the major players of the solution.
Mm-hmm.
So why are we not talking about, as we've spoken earlier on in this podcast, shifting away from animal agriculture, moving towards plant agriculture, and getting the government to support more farmers in making those changes? I mean, if we don't start having that conversation now, when half the country's on fire, when is it going to happen? When's the right time to do this?
Absolutely. And I come back to the IPCC report where they spoke about that 20% reduction. They actually said that all the other mitigation measures are great. They're fine. But if you do all of them and you leave out animal agriculture, then you will fail. None of it works without including animal agriculture in it. None of it. So we can have all this climate activism, we can have all of that, but don't leave out animal agriculture. The world has to change. And the 11,000 scientists that came out, I think it was, 3 weeks ago now?
Yeah.
Who came out with this report that said, guys, you've got to stop eating animals. You have to. You have to go to plant-based agriculture or it's all over. Basically, I'm paraphrasing here, of course, but, this was the thrust of their argument.
I think one of the most frustrating things we find on a almost weekly basis when we go grocery shopping to our local supermarkets is seeing the flyers on the doors or on the walls or at the checkout saying, donate to your farmers, support our local farmers, help them get through the drought, help them get through the fire, help them get through everything. Do you ever find that, Andy? And you're looking at it thinking, hold on, they're part of the problem and now they're asking for more help to get them out of the problem that they're causing. It's like this spiral. It's a never-ending cycle of creating the problem and asking to be pulled out of the problem while you still want to